Hey guys, so today we're talking about how we're going to graph lines, more specifically when we're given the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So before we can get to any graphing, I need to explain to you guys how, what slope-intercept form is, and then we can talk about how to use it. So that's what I wanted to say. So slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in these equations, y is going to stay y, x is going to stay x. M and b are just going to be numbers. Okay, so they just represent something, and it's a very specific form. Y by itself is going to be equal to a number, in this case m, a number times x plus another number. So that's good. It's very specific in this form. If it's not in this form, then it may not work, what we're going to do for graphing. Okay, so what does m represent? Well, like I said, it's just a number. So this is just a number. And this number is what we talked about earlier, is the slope. So this is going to tell us how do my x's and my y's change. So change in y over change in x. Okay. B is also a number. Hopefully you noticed that I also included the plus sign here. So we also want to include the sign in front. Oh, the sign in front. Okay. It's also a number, but this is what we call the y-intercept. Okay, so if you're not sure what the y-intercept is, that is the point on the y-axis where a graph intersects. Okay, so it's where it intersects the y-axis, the graph. It can be any kind of graph. These will specifically be lines. So, and that is why this is called slope-intercept form, because slope is our m and y-intercept is our b. All right, so on really quickly, so on a y-intercept, if this is my y-axis, I'll do a quick sketch, and that's my x-axis, and I highlight that. What we're going to be doing here today is we're going to be graphing lines, all kinds of different lines. So let's just say it's this red line. And if I zoom in on this, the y-intercept is right at the point where that line crosses the y-axis. That is your y-intercept right there. Okay, and that's just a number, however many up, or if it's down below, if it happens to be down here, it's just a number. So we'll talk about those in a second. So before we can actually get to graphing, what we're going to do is just practice identifying what those numbers are. Okay, so the first example is going to be identify the slope and y-intercept of y equals 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, y equals 1/2 x minus 4. It is in the correct form. Y is by itself. It's equal to a number. Our number happens to be 1/2 times x, and then it's plus or minus a number by itself. So that's in the correct form. So the slope, according to this up here, our slope is the number of the coefficient of x, or the number that multiplies by x. So it's the one that's next to x. So this is my slope. So the slope in this problem is 1/2. You guys know what I like to say. Keep it simple, students. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. It's 1/2, and that's it. And then if I want to know what the y-intercept is, Well, that's the number by itself. Notice I also included, though, the minus sign. So this is going to be a -4. And that's it. If I know those two bits of information, I can graph a line. Okay, so I am going to graph a line. When we're graphing lines, so we talked a lot about slope in our previous lessons, and when we had to find slope with a graph, you guys drew on the graph how to get from one point to the other point. That's what we said slope was. Tells us the change in y and change in x. Well, we're just working backwards now. Now you're going to know the slope, but you have no graph. It's an empty graph. So let's see what this is. So we're going to graph the equation y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Okay, we're going to graph y equals 2/3 x minus 1. Now, you need two bits of information in order to graph a line. One, you need a starting point, and two, you need to know what direction to go in. So I only know two things here. I know I have two numbers. I've got 2/3 and I've got a -1. So my choices are limited. One of those is the starting point, and one of those is the direction. And remember what the y-intercept is. Y-intercept is the point where a graph crosses the y-axis. It's a point. So that is actually our starting point. So our starting point is the y-intercept. And in this case, that is equal to -1. So I'm going to go to the y-axis, and just kind of as a little reminder, if we go up on the y-axis, it's positive. If we go down, it's negative. On the x, you go to the right is positive. Going to the left is negative, just as a reminder. So my starting point then is -1. So I need to go where it's negative. So if I start here in the middle, I have to go down to -1 because going down is the negative numbers, -1. And I just put a point right there. There's my starting point. Yay, starting point. That's it to start. Now I need to know what direction to move in. Just like we did slope before, where we figured out change in y and change in x, and we counted squares to get from one point to the other, we're still going to have to do that. We're just going to do that with the numbers they give us. So our slope is our change in y over change in x. And in this case, it is 2/3. And I'm going to say this, it's really, really, really important. This part here is to realize that's a +2 and a +3 because that's going to tell me direction. So it's really important. This next part, students don't like to do it, and I don't know why. I wish I did know why, but I don't. They don't like to draw these little arrows, but students that do it, they tend to do better on these problems. So here's what I mean by drawing arrows. I'm literally going to draw in what does a +2 in the change in y mean. Positive means, oh, going up. So I'm going to go up 2. And now if I'm on my x, it's also positive, right? Positive x is, oh, I have to go to the right 3. And I put in up 2, right 3. Those are my directions. So if my starting point, I'm going to erase that really quick. So if my starting point is here, oops, my starting point is down here, I need to go, oh, well, that doesn't work. Never mind. I need to go up 2 from here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I need to go up 2 from here and then to the right 1, 2, 3. Wherever I end up, that's my new point. And then all we have to do is draw a line to connect them. So let's draw our line to connect them as best we can. And that is the line for y equals 2/3 x minus 1. It has a y-intercept of -1, and it has a slope of +2 over +3. All right, let's try another one. Let's graph y equals -1/2 x plus 3. Y equals -1/2 x plus 3. So we need our starting point, and our starting point is our y-intercept. Starting point is our y-intercept. In this case, it's equal to, oh, it's a positive this time, so +3. So I'm going to go to my y-axis, and I'm going to go up to 3, 1, 2, +3. That's where I'm going to start. And then from here, the slope tells me where I'm going to go from there. So I'm going to do my change in y over my change in x. That's now, if you're not used to, and this becomes difficult for students to figure out where the negative signs go. So on here, if the negative sign is out front, oops, the negative sign is out front, all you need to do is move it to the top one. So it makes the top number, you're changing y negative, and then it'll keep your bottom number down here positive. So I'm going to say this is a -1 over a +2. So the bottom stays positive, or the change in x stays positive. Now, my little hands, there's my plus and my plus and my minus and my minus. So if my change in y is -1, well, this time negative is down here. That means I have to go down 1 square. But my change in x is still positive. So that's over here. That's over here. So it's positive. So we're going to go to the right 2 squares. Why 2? Because that's the number that's there. So I'm going to go to my starting point. And I'm going to pick up a different color this time. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to move, maybe I'll stay with pink. I'm going to move down 1, and I'm going to go to the right 2, and that's where I end up. And I'm going to follow that pattern. I go down 1 to the right 2, and that's my point. And then I'm going to connect them all with a line like this, or as best I can. And that is the line for y equals -1/2 x plus 3. All right, so just another little thing to help you guys out. If just because this question comes up every once in a while, let's say you have, oh, that's weird. You have a slope. This is a separate problem, by the way, so let me move this up here. Let's say you have a problem like this, where it's like 3x plus 2 or something like that. Your slope, or your change in y over your change in x, you realize, wait a minute, it's not a fraction. You never thought you would like fractions and need them, but you actually need them in this case. Don't forget that any integer or any whole number can be written as a fraction. All you need to do is put it over +1, +1, and it doesn't change a thing. So this would be a +3, so up 3, and a +1 would be to the right 1. So if you do get that, just put it over the number 1, and you're good to go. All right, good luck, guys. We'll continue this another day. Have a great day.